Hey everyone, how are you doing out there? Welcome to Gray Man Prepping. All right, so it is time for the one, the only Tactical Tuesday. We'll be discussing tactics, gear, and more. And actually, it's going to be a little bit about tactics and a little bit about gear here. So tonight's topic is, are you ready for it? Wet versus dry food storage. And how's everybody doing out there? Alrighty, let me change something around here first. Gonna switch up here and get that off of there and change it to, where is it? There it is. Boom, channel memberships. All right, and let's go up here and look. This, oh man, got a bunch of comments up here. All right, so let's see who all's in the house here right now. According to the thing over here, we got 13 people watching and 12 thumbs up. And so first one in was Walt Rogers. Second one in was Howie at Food Forest Permaculture. Then Gear Grinding 19. Then Passamaquoddy, followed by Alicia. And then Dave at Southern Ohio Prepping. And then Shadow Scout Swede. So we are international tonight. Let's see what else we got here. Phelan Clan Wolf, Troop 1351. And all right, going to pause right here for a second. There's a comment here. I want to. Yes, I saw that today. I saw a special, or is it yesterday? Yesterday, I saw a special video put out by Suspicious Observers. He had a great satellite image of it that was froze. That was had spectral chemical analysis on it. So he went from the one view showing one colors, and he went it from dust to something else. They wound up with the sulfur dioxide, which was bright yellow crap. You could just see that stuff just heading out to the west, heading towards the United States. So, yeah. Let's see. Sarah Boss is here. Jay is in the house. And Jujubee is here. And everybody's talking back and forth. And Walt finally decided to skip the ad after about 6.5 minutes. Dave, there were some people that didn't want to be called engineers, so I called them entities. Because they're going, well, I'm not an engineer. So I went with entities. And let's see, we got Rachel Knight is in the house lurking. And chit chat back and forth here. All the things Acres is here as well. Alrighty. So just a reminder to everyone here, if you can, hit the thumbs up, share it out, help get this information out, because if you can get your neighbors prepared and we hit an SHTF or Tawagi situation, if they're prepared, they're not coming to your house for your food. So you want to get them prepared. Hey, Suburban Hillbilly. All righty. And so also have channel memberships, 99 cents and $1.99. And because the way YouTube is screwing with my income off of the videos, the ads that are being watched and stuff, and not crediting for, the narrows for the ads that are being watched, I'm probably for the rest of this month, I'm going to be dropping the giveaway just to subscribers and just sticking with the 2 drawings for channel members, because, hey, channel members pay for their drawings, okay? So you are an engineer. All right, everybody, you're engineers. All right, Brenda's here, Duncan 1900 Homestead. All right, so tonight's topic is not as cut and dry. No pun intended when I said that. As far as how it's applied. And there's Jujubee firing off. No, we're not doing the sourdough one tonight. So we're wet versus dry. There's some gray areas. There's totally, I didn't think of that areas. And so we're going to be covering some stuff there. And we're going to be going over it here. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to lay out some stuff, and then we're going to start carrying on a conversation. I'm going to be trying to work mainly off the side chat here once we get going here. After I... Wrong channel. That's over on Camp Patton Family Compound. All righty. So, but I will say, you guys, going back to the jar opener, the reason why I ordered that jar opener, I went to try to open up a jar of relish, and that was so friggin' hard. I wound up having to take the backside of a knife and tap it sideways on it to try to jerk the lid a little bit so I could get it to pop loose. Man, that was hard. Well, I can see who's been watching it. You got Daniel and 92% chocolate. No, okay. That's also on the other channel. All righty. So let's get over here to the topic here. Boom. And take a look at some stuff here. All right. So wet. Well, wet, you know, most people concerned wet with canned. All right, because you got the cans of pasta sauce, the canned beans, the can of corn. All that stuff has liquid in it, and it's considered wet storage. And frozen falls along the same lines, because once it's thawed, it's wet. Whether it's a piece of meat, it's got moisture in it and wet, or whether it's soup that's been frozen or whatever it is. So canned and frozen are wet. Now, fresh doesn't have a long shelf life. It's not a long storage item, but it's still wet. Most of the stuff's still wet. Fresh tomatoes, fresh corn, fresh green beans and stuff. They're not dried out yet, so they are wet. All right. Dry grain, dried grains and beans that throws that are in, you get in the bags. You generally get it in bulk, but you get into small 1 pound bags and stuff like that. Anytime, rice along is in the same thing. Like any stuff there that you don't need to put it in a special container and have it last for a long, long time. Then the next thing in is part of dry stuff is freeze dried. It was wet. It's been thoroughly dried out, and it's going to last a long time. But because it's still the way it is, it's sealed up and sealed off so that that nothing gets into it. And then, of course, someone's going to say dehydrated. Well, the problem with dehydrated, it's not desiccated. It's just dehydrated. Dehydrated apricots, they're still soft, chewy, and have moisture in it. Dehydrated pears, same thing. Dehydrated banana, same thing. They still have a little bit of moisture in it. Now, some things people, they desiccate it. They dry it out until it's desiccated. And that's stuff like tomatoes and stuff, because they powder it to make stuff. And that, that is dry. But the other stuff is actually still should be over on a little bit on the wet side. So dehydrated is one that's kind of, depending on how far you go with the dehydration, it's going to be one or the other. And Jay is racking up the laughter in the side chat there. And I don't mean the stuff up in the attic where the attic roof is leaking on it either. Okay, so if you're, for your wet and dry, this is the kind of things we're looking at here. Before I go on, I got to jump back here to the wet side again. Canned. There is store canned, as in your metal cans. And then there is your canned, your do-it-yourself in jars. All right. And like last night, I mentioned a little bit last night on, we're talking about, on the garden and stuff. And I've mentioned it in a couple other of the your prep for today videos that are, if they haven't come out, they'll be coming out in the next day or two, about canned versus commercially canned versus home canned. And I believe it's coming out tomorrow, the one on soup, if it didn't come out already. It should be coming out tomorrow at 11:30 Mountain Time. And so, yeah, you know, store canned stuff lasts a certain amount of time, generally because the cans only last a certain amount of time. Whereas in jars, they last a whole lot longer if it's properly canned, if you don't shortcut the time. All right, so let's go on to the next one here. We'll get some information out there. All right, something else that is going to impact on whether is it best to have wet or dry food storage. SIP. And some of you are going, what? SIP, shelter in place. You're staying where you're at. All right, if you're staying where you're at and you're not leaving, it really doesn't impact too much on whether you do wet or dry. This particular thing, shelter in place, doesn't impact whether you're going to be whether it's you're stockpiling wet storage food or dried storage food. However, if you're bugging out, that does, because wet storage food weighs a whole lot more. You pick up a case of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, and let me switch this up a little bit here. Oh, wrong one. There we go. You pick up a thing of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, and it's heavy. Then you pick up a container that'll make the same amount of soup of Bear Creek chicken noodle soup, and as you pick up one hand, it's like, this thing's light, because it doesn't have all that liquid in it. So if you're planning on bugging out, wet versus dry does have an impact on what you're going to pack. However, hey, Denier, how's it going? However, hey, Moon over to Miami just came in too. However, when it comes to bugging out, and if you have all dehydrated stuff and dry stuff, you can need some water to fix it. So you're going to need to take some water along with you, not only for your 1 gallon a day drinking water, but for the water to fix the dehydrated, freeze-dried meal. So, you know, something else to consider between wet and dry. Limited water, both where you're at, if you're sheltering in place, or if you're bugging out, or the place you're going to. How much water is there? If there's a lot of water, yeah, you can lean a lot more towards dried food storage. If there's hardly any water there, you're going to want to lean towards wet food storage. Example, if you have your bug out location, which is the family cabin up on the lake or whatever, and you have a bunch of canned food stored up there, and including like diced tomatoes. We use a lot of diced tomatoes. Well, the diced tomatoes has a lot of liquid in it. Tuna has spring water in it. All right. The canned chicken and the canned beef canned in broth. Well, you got liquid there. You have some liquid that you can use. Pour that liquid off. You can use that liquid, add it to some instant rice, and you now have chicken and rice or beef and rice. Yeah. So you can reuse the water in some of the canned foods to help make the meal. Beans has something else that has just plain beans, whether it's pinto, black beans, white beans, kidney beans. They're packed in water. All right. So having a limited water, where you're going to be sheltering in place or bugging out, is going to be another thing to consider. Now, It doesn't have to be for the end of the world as we know it or the poop hitting the fan. It could be something as simple as, oh, we just had an earthquake and my business is shut down for a week while they square things away. They'll only bring in certain crews to clean things up and do that. I'm at home. The city sewer is broken. They're working on fixing that. The water system may or may not be working. So it's a major catastrophe, but it's not SHTF. Government's still functioning. They're fixing things. So that in itself might dictate, well, geez, we need to have some wet stuff here because the city water, A, may not be working, or B, if it is working, it may be slightly contaminated and we got to boil and filter it all before we use it. Food for thought there. No pun intended. And that's the end of that. So that's some of the things I was thinking of here, folks, on the things that I deal with, whether it's stocking wet or dry. Now I'm going to go off on a rant. Yes, Gil's going to go off on a rant. And he's going to make fun of people. He's going to poke fun at the idiots. Yes, I am. There are some channels out there, and I've seen them, and I just shake my head at them. Some are saying, you don't want wet food at all. All you want is dried food, bags of beans, bags of rice, dried this, dried that. That's all you want to store. All right, this isn't the family channel, so I can do this. I'm a Boy Scout. Can you read between the lines, people? Those people are full of crap. They say that all you want to have, no matter what, is dried. Then, on the flip side, are the ones that say, oh, you're going to be short of water, so you want to make sure as much as all your stuff is wet packed, canned foods, this, that, the other. Well, I got my other hand for those guys. Personally and professionally, a balance is best. An overall balance between wet and dry, in my opinion. All right. There are some things. We have a lot of dry stuff. We have a lot of rice mixes. We have, plain rice, Spanish rice, Italian rice, all the different rice buffet, and all these other, pilaf, and all these other type of rice mixes. We have mashed potatoes. We have plain mashed potatoes. We have fully loaded mashed potatoes. We have mashed potatoes, bacon and chive flavor. We have all these packets of different types of mashed potatoes. We have a bunch of dry stuff. And what do we have along with it besides that dry stuff? We have tomato sauce, pasta sauce, tomato paste, whole stewed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, olive oil, vinegars. We have a whole bunch of wet stuff that complements the dry stuff. Now, the dry stuff is cheaper. You get a 50-pound bag of beans. It's cheaper than trying to get 55 pounds of beans that are cooked and canned in cans. And it takes up a lot less space. However, there are times where it's like, oh, I don't want to have to spend 3 hours cooking this stuff, getting soaking the beans overnight and getting everything going on, and then draining and re-soaking and then cooking and doing everything from scratch. I want to be able to grab a can of chili because we're often working hard, we're tired, we want some food now. There's a good reason for having wet food storage. So, looking at it like that, there's a lot of reasons to have both. And anyone that tells you absolutely you need this or that, you can't, no. Because everybody's situation is a little bit different. Everybody has different requirements. The only thing I will lay an absolute on, that if you want to store flour, a lot of flour, don't. Store a lot of wheat and have a wheat grinder. We had these freeze-dried cans. My parents back in 1971 bought a bunch of stuff. They bought the 5-gallon buckets of winter red wheat, and they also bought about 30 cans of flour. After a couple of years, the flour was nasty because once wheat is ground into flour, it starts reacting with stuff, and it was reacting with the metal in the cans. Even though the cans were filled with nitrogen and stuff, so there's no oxygen in there, it still reacted with the metal of the can, and it was nasty tasting. The only thing what we did with that, we donated to the schools, and we told them, hey, this flour is not good to eat. Told the teachers, say it's not good to eat, but you can make paper mache paste and paste like that out of it. Teachers were happy to get it. Oh, cool. And they, for their projects and stuff. All right. Let me drop that down. Okay. So we're at the 20 some odd minute mark here. And I'm checking something here just to make sure I am at the right number still. Okay. I lost. Okay, who did I lose from that level there? Oh, I can't tell right now. I'll have to look into it. All right. We'll just see. We've got one person that's listed as being a gray man level that is not. So I'm going to bring up the wheel over here and get the wheel going for the drawing, and we'll figure it out as we go along if they pop up and don't have the little icon next to their name saying that they are a channel member. All right. So let me, I got to represent because I have to, if I try to start the presentation off with the audio shared, when I do the countdown at the beginning, we get an echo. All right. So there we go. And so we got a total of we got how many? We got a total of 20 members, and 5 of which are gray man level, which means they get 2 entries on the wheel. That's why the numbers are up here. And let's get rid of that ad. All right, so let's shuffle this up. And let's give away a $5 Amazon gift card. All right, Tammy Ecker. I haven't seen Tammy in the chat. Has anybody seen Tammy in the chat? Let's check to see if Tammy is in the chat here. At TA. Okay, her name's not coming up for me, but that could just mean that she hasn't said anything in the last 15 minutes. Let's see, give her time. I'll give her 1 minute here. So let me double check some other stuff here and make sure everything's looking good. All right. Yeah. Nobody's seen her. She's not in there. I'll give her 10 seconds now. 9, 8, 7, 6. The balloon's going to go up on her. Oh, no. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's spin it again and see if we can get somebody else here. All right, Phelan Clan Wolf. I know he was in here earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here or not right now. Is Phelan, are you out there? Are you out there? Is he still here? Did he take off? Sure, let's see what's happening here. Phelan's here. All right, let me write it down here on the notepad. Here, get to the right side here. go. And this is today's the 11th. So Rayman prepping 4-11-23. First wheel is failing. All right. Okay, and we'll in about 20 minutes or so, we'll give away another $5 Amazon gift card. So close that out and come back over here. All righty. Back to dry versus wet, wet versus dry. If you have stored up your water and you have enough water for a moderate, life-changing emergency. Oh, there it is in the side chat. I got to do it. It's CB at Hugo Homestead. All righty. So, dealing with if you have water set aside, enough water for 30 days, then that means 30 days worth of time that you're not worried about having enough water. However, storing water, you got to consider several things. One, and some people say, "Oh no, it's not this much." And I've double checked everything. It should be a little bit more. A gallon a day of drinking water, not food prep water, not washing dishes water, not flushing toilets. Dedicated drinking water. Okay, so you set aside a gallon a day drinking water per person. Then you set aside per person 1 gallon a day food prep. Now this is where it gets a little more flexible. Some meals, if you're cooking with wet foods and stuff, say you're making chili and beans and you're opening up cans and stuff, you're not going to need much water at all food prep wise. However, if you're making spaghetti, you're going to need the water to boil the spaghetti in. First rule in an emergency, if you're using water to cook food in, do not throw it out. Set it aside and use it to water your garden. If you are soaking beans to get the stuff that makes the gas that makes you go all over the place, don't just throw that water out or down the sink. Save it. Use it to water the garden, specifically because bean water has a lot of nutrients in it. That's stuff that's washed out of the beans. Okay. Prepper. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? I'm just going to call him PPF. He's in the house now. So, besides your drinking water, you should have some food prep water, about 1 gallon per day per person. What's also good is if you have the room for it, and you can get some of these IBC totes. Now you get a point where you don't need food grade totes. You can have non-potable water stored. 250 gallons per tote is a good decent amount of water. And what would you use non-potable water for? Flushing the toilet, taking a shower, or a sponge bath, doing laundry. And you don't throw that water out. You use that water to water the garden. So if you're going to take a shower, you get some tarps set up. You have your bag of your solar shower bag where it's heated up. You go out, you wet down, you soap up, you rinse off, and that water you use to water the garden with. Now, flushing the toilet, you got to take some ingenuity here. If you're just peeing, you can get one of those buckets and you pee in that, and then you can just dump that out in an area where you may not be gardening at right now, or you roll around the fruit trees or whatever else. Use that to help water the trees and stuff like that, not in where the vegetables are. If you're pooping, this is going to sound gross, people. If someone poops and it's just a little poop, don't flush. Wait till you get more in there, and then you flush once. Big one. That's just one way of saving water, so that you have more water, more area to store water for drinking, food preparation, and stuff like that. Jay, drinking the water you use to soak the beans in, that's a recipe for a musical disaster. Beans, musical fruit. Oh, yeah. Yay, Brenda. Yeah. And, if you have the jars and you're not having to fill them full of food, fill them full of water, because that water is sanitized water, and you can use it for washing wounds, cuts, and stuff like that. Composting. Now, going to the poop. A lot of countries compost the poop, but you also have to be set up to do that right. King Poopa's in the house. When composting poop, you want to have it away from the regular garden. You want to have it set up in an area where you can maintain the sanitation of the compost pile, and make sure you have everything properly in there, where you can actually you're going to need to turn stuff, and you're going to need other material in there to help the poop break down, because human poop doesn't like breaking down like animal poop does, especially with our fast food diets we're on. Fast food poop is a lot harder to break down than Amish poop. Because when you're eating all the fresh vegetables and all that sort of stuff, your poop looks differently and it reacts differently. All right, so I know we're deviating from wet versus dry. So, but in your wet versus dry, something to consider too is if you are canning your stuff and you're not worrying about bugging out, and you're canning it in jars and everything else, hey, if you can a lot of one particular thing, foods last a lot longer in jars than they do cans. Example, in 1971, December 71, we went out to the church farms down in Southern California, and we picked a whole mess of pears. We actually helped them picking pears, and for every big huge flat, so many flats of pears that we picked, we got one for free for our labor. And we, the whole family went out there, so there were 5 of us, and we spent 8 hours out there picking pears. And I think we had like 10 flats of pears we brought home. And when I'm talking small, we're talking the big boxes of pears. And so we wound up, the next weekend, actually between then and the next weekend, we started washing, taking care of the pears and everything else. And then we started cutting them up, and peeling them, cutting them, putting them in a the sugar water solution with the pectin in it and everything else, and getting them all ready to can. And Saturday morning, bright and early, the water bath canner was going, and we canned all friggin' day long. And then Sunday, we canned a bunch, took a break, went to church, came back after church, and canned into the night. And then the following Saturday, we canned. We had cases and cases of pears. So that was 71. Come 1975, we've moved twice now. We just moved up. In 73, we moved to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, town of Fredonia. And then when we moved in 75, we moved back to California, up to Northern California. And so we're up there. And it was about 2 years later before my parents got the new house put on the property. And we were able to get everything and start opening up. And all of a sudden, here's all these cases of canned pears. All right. So you're looking at 6 years later, and they're all primo, perfect. And it took us a number of years after that to eat them up. And they were all good 10, 12 years later. So home canning stuff is a lot better and lasts longer than store-bought stuff, no matter what the hypnotic powers that be that try to convince you, oh, home canned food's not good for you, doesn't last long. Yeah, I'm the same way, Dustin. Now, I don't like them fresh. I don't like peaches fresh. I like canned peaches. Apricots, I don't like canned apricots. I like fresh apricots. I do like dehydrated apricots and freeze-dried apricots, but I don't like canned apricots. Apricot jam is a totally different story. Yeah. And so there's when you got your wet and dry versus, stuff here, a lot of stuff should, I'm not saying absolutely now, like these other idiots are saying, I'm saying a lot of stuff should be wet done. Obviously, canned fruit obviously needs to be done wet. Although you can do freeze-dried fruit and stuff, but it's just not the same. It's a great snack, but it's just not the same. Ooh. Dustin's getting plum trees next week. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Speaking of trees, I am positive that one of the Lombardy poplars we got, because I reset them up yesterday, put some more dirt and packed it around it. This morning, the one that had been laying down flat and had been mainly chewed on by the voles was leaning over again, and I have a feeling it's toast. I don't think it's going to survive. So I may need to be getting a couple more Lombardy poplars as well. But yeah, no, Southern California, Jay, no partridges in those pear trees. Yeah, so when you're planning on or thinking out, all right, wet or dry. Some things there's a mixes of. We have kidney beans, white beans, black beans, pinto beans, dry. We have canned white beans, black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. So we got both wet and dry of the same thing. Why? Time. Sometimes it's just easier, we need to be able to do things quicker. Plus, hey, sometimes it's the canned stuff is on sale ridiculously low a couple months a year. And it's like, crap, just buy a bunch of the cans, and we have them and it's good to go. Now, one of the things that we do buy wet specifically is refried beans, because nobody in the family wants to make refried beans from fresh beans or from dried beans. Do pinto beans explode if you tap them in the rear, like in cars? No, they do not. But if you put it up on the engine to warm it up, and you don't crack them open, and you put it up there by the exhaust manifold, they will explode. And that's something else too. Homemade canned potatoes. You can also do homemade freeze-dried potatoes. And so there's a lot of different things. So you have to figure out what works best for you. I'm just noticing the time here. We're going to get back to the wheel here. Figure out and do the balance work. Economics versus expense versus savings, ease of preparedness, ease of storage between wet and dry. All right, so let's get over here to this here, and it's time for the second giveaway. And I didn't notice if anybody joined. I didn't see anybody, the thing popping up in the chat here about anybody joining. So we're still on the same number here. Channel memberships are 99 cents a month, and you get on the wheel every week for giveaways. All righty, so that's the prepper levels, 99 cents a month. The gray man levels, $1.99, has more benefits. Plus you get on the wheel twice. So let's see who we got here. It looks like, yes, it's Kaylin Strain. And I haven't seen Kaylin in here. Is she still doing Ramadan? Not sure. Let me check. Nope. I don't see her in there. She has not been in. I haven't seen her in all day, because usually when she's here, she makes a bunch of comments. So, all righty. Just in case she's listening, or I will give her another 30 seconds here. But yeah. Yes, it's still Ramadan. Okay, so she is not going to be here. All right, so shuffle, and let's spin it again here. Suzanne Goulet. Has anybody seen Suzanne? I don't remember seeing her in here. Let's check here. Nope, no Suzanne. Got Suburban Hillbillies, but no Suzanne popping up. Okay, Ramadan ends the 20th. Okay, thanks, Shadow. All righty, and we got Hakama Robinson Rashid. Hey, how's it going? All right, so Suzanne's not here. Oh, wait, yes, Suzanne is here. Yeah, there it is. Here. She is here. She was lurking. She wasn't making comments. All right, Suzanne, send me an email. Actually, send it to the Camp Patton Family Compound one. Hang on a second. I will throw that up here. Banners down to the bottom. Send it to this email, and then I will get your $5 Amazon gift card off to you. Write this down here. SUS EAN Suzanne G. I may have your email already, but I'm not sure. But just to make sure, go ahead and send me an email, and that way I can pull it up and get that off to you as soon as I'm done with the live stream tonight. Okay, let's get back up over here. We've had 7 more comments. All righty. And go ahead and back over here. And I froze. All right, done with the wheel, so I can pull the wheel down for tonight. All righty. So everybody, what's your thought on wet versus dry? Which things are best dry? Which foods are best wet? All right, come on, everybody, side chat. Time to contribute. What is your, feelings of what foods are best dry? What foods are best wet? What do you prefer? Sula Dean, welcome, welcome. And what is your plan? Also, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan to bug out, or are you planning on staying, at the house there? Okay, think we should have both. Yeah. I would split my yield among them to cover all the bases. Dried rice cooks fast. Hey, we have 50 pound bags of rice, white rice. We also have boxes of the minute rice too. All right, and here we go. Veggies wet, bread, beans right, dry. Yeah, good. Gear likes his cereal dry for eating and storing. Yeah, and that's just another little topic here. I'm doing the weight loss challenge over on Cat Pant Family Compound. So I'm really trying to steer away from the carbs and certain grains and stuff because they turn into sugar in the system. But one of my favorite things was Honey Smacks. You just pour in a bowl, don't need any milk, just walk around the house, eating that, tinkering on stuff and doing stuff like that. Sitting here at the computer working on stuff, have a bowl of it, and of course, when I'm done typing, I got to get out the wet wipes and wipe down the keyboard. Freeze dry. And we have several of the 5-gallon buckets of the Mountain House freeze dried stuff for emergency getting to point A to point B. As everybody, most people should know that I got a couple of new names in here. So I'm up in Idaho at a retirement house, getting everything up here ready. My wife is still working down in California. And my 2 boys are still down in California. My daughter is up here with her family across the street, in the house across the street. And I have a couple 5-gallon buckets of the Mountain House meals up here. My wife has like 8 buckets down there. Okay. Reason is, mine is for if I need to go down there to help with the truck and trailer, to help them load up, to get them out of California in an emergency. All right. Theirs is to get the heck out of California if I can't make it there. And so that's one of the things there on that as far as freeze dried for bugging out is. Okay. Minute rice, great stuff. Rice is good, sort of dry. Beans, sort of dry. Yes, exactly. I have both. Like I said, I have both on the stuff, wet and dry for the beans. Yes, I have not had potatoes since end of July last year when I started to try to go on a diet. Yeah, rice and carbs are starving. And here's the thing is, The up north of us, about 45 minutes or so, is Brigham Young University, Idaho, BYU, Idaho. A lot of the kids eat a lot of rice up there and beans up there, and they're putting on weight because they eat a lot, because it's cheap and they eat a lot of it. I have not done that yet, but that's something to think about. And actually, I'm thinking about doing the cereal in half-gallon jars and using the vacuum seal lid on it off the food saver. Would be to get a couple of the cans of the nitrogen, like for they have the nitrogen for in a can, like dust off whatever, and you froze. They used to, like, they open up a bottle of wine and they're going to put it away. They'll put that nozzle in there and they'll give it a slow squirt of nitrogen to displace the oxygen, so the wine doesn't change its flavor. But yeah, you can spray some of the nitrogen in there, toss in a couple of oxygen absorbers and a moisture absorber, and then do the vacuum seal on it. And that's a great thing to make cereal last longer. And Jay, you are right. And if it is a truly, like I defined last night, truly an SHTF scenario, and for everyone just to get on the same page, there are 4 scenarios. I've laid it out in a video here on Gray Man Prepping. Also laid it out in a video a couple of years back on Patent Family Compound. Back in the 70s, we made 4 classifications. There is a general emergency, a life-altering event, and then SHTF, which affects the entire nation, and then Tawaki, which affects the entire nation or the world. Now, emergencies can be earthquakes, tornadoes, stuff like that are really in your area where you are not actually nailed by it, but you're affected by the side effects, like secondhand smoke. Life-altering event is your house is hit by the earthquake or the tornado and you lose your house. Okay. That's not an SHT event. You may feel like it's SHT, but the government is still functioning. For SHT to happen, all government must fail. City, county, state, federal. And it takes at least a year to 5 years to get back up and running. If its event is so bad that it's going to take 5 to 20 years for government to get back up and running, now you're looking at Tawaki, the end of the world as we know it. But yeah, people are even in major life-altering events. People are going to be burning off more. They're going to be out doing more stuff because there's going to be debris to clean up after. Things to fix and work on it. All righty. I have grain stored. I store canned and dehydrated vegetables. Yeah, because it's dehydrated, shrivels up like a prune, or more so, and it's lighter weight too, and everything else on that. Let's see. Yeah. And there's something, a lot of the stuff will last. Even beans and rice, not in vacuum sealed, not in with oxygen absorbers and moisture absorbers. If it's put away in a 5-gallon bucket where the humidity is low when you pack it away, like in the middle of winter where everything's frozen, there's no humidity in the air, and you pack it away, it's going to last a long, long time. We had 5-gallon bags of rice. We got the bags of rice, poured the bags in a 5-gallon bucket, sealed it, taped it up. 30 years later, the rice was still good. No mold, no nothing. 30 years later, the rice was still good. The rice that wasn't good is where the rats chewed through the plastic bucket and got into the bucket. All righty. Yeah. Now I know I missed some comments that were back up there farther. And we're talking fresh meat is, basically that's wet stuff, and that's something that you can do. Fresh that falls into the fresh stuff, fresh vegetables, fresh fish, fresh, beef, pork, chicken, whatever. And when it comes to food storage, raising fresh meat is always a good thing to do. Exactly, Idle Garden Girl. My sister and her husband both lost their jobs as car salesmen back in the 78 or 79. They both lost their job. They were unemployed for 6 months because the car, boom, took a crash. And they'd been salesmen for so long, they had a hard time trying to find another job. They lived off their food storage and savings. And once they got jobs again, first thing they started doing was building back up the savings. And once the savings account was back up, then they started building back up the food storage. All right, we're getting near the end of the time here. Hang on. Yeah. That's some carbs will be appreciated. All right, other side here, bring up the schedule. All right, for the schedule, folks. If you have suggestions for either this channel or my other channel, Camp Patton Family Compound, send an email to here with suggestions for topics. Something you'd like to see us cover. All right. And so coming up here, so Thursday night here on Gray Man Prepping is going to be the Midnight Ride, which is going to be, bring several people up out of the chat when anybody wants to talk about stuff. And we just kind of sit around, we talk about things of interest. And also cover some news story topics as well. So that's on Thursday. Friday on Camp Patton Family Compound, Friday night on the homestead. The topic is going to be about farmers markets. And what are your plans on dealing with farmer markets this summer? Right now, there's no topic for Monday, so it's going to be open chat currently on Monday on the Monday Night Fireside chat. Here, next Tuesday here on Gray Man Prepping for Tactical Tuesday, the topic is gray water. What is it? And I got a side note over here. It isn't special. It isn't a special kind of water that Gray Man drinks. Okay. And we're going to talk about how to collect it, how to use it, how to keep it safe. So that's what's coming up here within the next week. All righty, folks. I want to thank everybody's comments in the chat. Let me switch back over here on the chat. Just flip back up here because I know I missed a bunch here. Oh, Jay's making fun. Okay. Let's see. 3 gallons of stackable screw-on lid. Yeah, the gamma lids with the gaskets. Those things are great. Just catching up here on the side chat. And oh, Courtney's here. Woohoo! Woohoo! Courtney's in the house. And so, like I said, anybody has any suggestions of topics, anything, question, if you have it doesn't have to be for here either. If you have an idea for a regular video, how to do video type thing that I do, send me an email and, type out what you think, what the question is, what the topic is, what you're kind of looking for in it. I need answers to this, or that. Can you address this point or that point? And I can add it to the list. I got a spreadsheet over here. I'm up through, what is that, May 2nd? May 9th. I'm up to May 9th with topics for Tactical Tuesday and Friday night on the homestead. Everybody's saying hi there to Courtney. Yeah. There's a difference between a farmer's market, a flea market, and a peddler's fair. A true farmer's market, they're not selling $20 cakes for $20 and dish towel stuff. Craft fairs and stuff is not the same. Unfortunately, a lot of places, they don't get that many farmers in there, so they bring all these other people in there too. Hey Q, how's it going? Hey Q, did our missing person ever get the numbers to you? And it's going down here. Okay, playing catch up. Any last fine comments there? Yeah, I got several bottles of the silver stuff in my first aid kit. All right, folks, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you all again, once again, for coming in. Any topics, again, to Camp Patton Family Compound. That's 2 P's in Camp Patton with 2 T's, Family Compound. Yeah. So I will see, hopefully I'll see some of you on the Midnight Ride, and I hope I see all of you over on Friday night on the homestead on Camp Patton Family Compound. All right, stay safe, stay happy. Don't let life get you down. Don't do anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps, and this is important. Water, food, medicine, clothing, and skills. Add more skills, because if things go south and you have skills, you become more valuable. You may be unemployed, but if you have skills to do other things, you can still be making money at it. All right. See y'all later.